Press record. Okay, so do any of you want to volunteer reading the paragraph? Okay, so I'm going to try assigning one of you to read. So Tristan, are you there? Do you want to read the first paragraph? Yes, Tristan.
Okay.
Yes, the first paragraph here.
Okay.
We until this one. Yeah, the highlighted part.
Okay. We went tiptoeing along the path amongst the trees back towards the end of the widow's garden, stooping down so as the branches wouldn't scrape our heads. When we was passing by the kitchen, I fell over a root and made a noise. We crouched down and lay still. Miss Watson, big Watson's big nigger named Jim was sitting in the kitchen door. We could see him pretty clear, 'cause there was a light behind him. He got up and stretched his neck out about a minute listening. Then he says, "Udah."
Okay, thank you, Tristan, for reading.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I hope that all of you read this passage before the class so that all of you probably understand what the context mean, but I'm here just to explain the just to explain the grammar rules and also the vocabularies that we have here in the paragraph. Okay, so we're going to read it line by line. So we went tiptoeing along a path amongst the trees, back towards the end of the widow's garden, stooping down so as the branches wouldn't scrape our heads. So since this is a story, you know that this probably Huckleberry's point of view recounting about from like an event from the past. So here we said when tiptoeing. So when tiptoeing is a past continuous, meaning something that is current, like something that is occurring but it happened in the past. So that's why we have went, which is a past tense. But we have tiptoeing here, which is a present participle. Amongst the trees. So amongst here, usually in modern English, people use the word here. Okay, I'm just going to put in. So modern people would use this kind of word stuff. Where is it? We just say among, but this real text we use amongst, which is it's still used, but it's not that common anymore. But it technically means the same. It's like you're stuck in between something. Okay, and then so as the branches wouldn't scrape our heads, I don't think that's like any kind of thing. So wouldn't scrape is a conditional negative verb phrase. So wouldn't scrape. So you know that would usually indicate something that's conditional. I would do that unless something happens like that. So it's like conditional. But it wouldn't, so it's a negative verb phrase. So for vocabularies, I'm going to just highlight some of them, but if there's actually some words that you don't know and you want me to explain, then you can feel free to do that. So I'm just going to highlight some of them. So like tiptoeing. Tiptoeing, I think most of you already recognize this word. It means walking quietly, like walking on your toes. So that's what tiptoeing means. And then widow's garden, stooping down. So this is also a verb, like something that you would do. So stooping down means that, or I mean like the synonym is to bend down, like to stoop low, like just to lay low. It's Ms.Teng. Wouldn't scrape our heads. So scrape here, I'm going to highlight it first. So scrape is means to scratch. They have the same meaning, like to scratch our heads or to scrape. It means the same thing here. Okay. When we was passing by the kitchen, I fell over a root and made a noise. Okay, so since this is okay, so this has a grammar issue here, but I'm not going to change the text since I'm going to actually just keep sentence here. I think, or maybe should I just change this just to avoid your confusion? So when we was passing, so this is actually grammatically wrong because the correct one. So was usually used for the she, he, it, or I was. I was passing by the kitchen, or she was passing by the kitchen, then that would make a correct sentence. But since we're talking about a plural, then the correct form should be were, right here. So we were passing. Now this is correct. Were is indicating a past event, and passing is a, what do you call this? Like the present participle here. So it's talking about past continuous. Something that's occurring to pass. The kitchen, I fell over a root. Fell over a root, okay. Nothing's wrong here. So fell means, yeah, it spells also the same here. You, I can, I think I'll even understand this context here. So fell, yes, it's parallel to the previous. Here we are passing, we're still talking about the past and made a noise. Yeah, this is like, I think what we call something like a parallel sentence. We have were, fell, and made. So they're all parallel to each other. Why? Because all of them are past tense. None of them like a future or either of them. For example, if I said something like, I fall over, so let's just ignore the first one. I fall over and made a noise. And that's fall over and made a noise. That it's not parallel because the word fell and made supposed have to be like past tense. But if I say use fall for this one or I change this made to make, then it won't be parallel anymore since they have different tenses there. It's like one of them is past and one of them is present. Okay. So we scratch down. So I don't think I have any um unique vocabularies here. So I hope that no other thing. So here, but if not, then you can just point it out and then I will try explaining it again. So we scratch down and laid still. So scratch down here. I think it's scratch here. I'm not sure I heard about this word. I think yes, I heard it a lot in informal settings when people are talking about it. So scratch. But I think the correct one should be crouch. The more common term that I actually encounter. So crouch mean is to lower oneself close to the ground. I'm not sure. I think I can try. Yeah, I think I'm going to type the vocab in so that it's actually easier to see. Okay, so stooping is bending down. Okay, so I just made this. Let's make it easier. Scratch. Okay, I made some mistakes here. There we go. Okay, now lay still. So it's the same. This is we're still talking about the past. Here we have scrouch down and laid still. Scrouch and laid, they're both past tense. So okay. Okay, now I'm going to summarize the whole meaning of the passage later after we analyze everything. Miss Watson's big nigger named Jim was sitting in the kitchen door. We could see him pretty clear because there was light behind him. Okay, so I noticed that most of the text here use the word sitting as setting instead of sitting. As you can see here, we have your setting again, which I think the correct one should be sitting. I think it's like a kind of dialect that Huckleberry Finn, like what the author trying to imply that Huckleberry Finn has this kind of accents made, have setting to sitting. So it should be sitting. Here it says right here, where's again? Miss Watson's okay, was in the door, okay. We could see him pretty clear. So right here should be pretty clearly here. So the correct one should be clearly. So I'm actually going to, well, not yellow. I'm going to change this to blue, I think. The one that I think. So if I change a word, I'm going to change that to blue, but for vocabulary, I'm going to use yellow. Okay. So why do I change this to clearly? So when we are saying see him pretty clearly, so we need to know what is the main verb here. So we know that the main thing here is the word see. See is a verb right here. And when we're trying to add an additional information to a verb, right here in this context saying pretty clearly, so we want to say that we can see him clearly or pretty clearly then. So the word clearly right here is to add an additional information or to describe the main verb, which is see. So technically, when we are trying to use an additional kind of word to this like add info to the verb, we need to have an adverb, of course. It's I think pretty obvious. Like you need to add an adverb, additional verb. That's how I shortened it. While the word clear here is actually an adjective. So we need to change the word clear to an adverb, which is clearly. So that's why we use clearly instead of clear. Okay, I hope that's explanation is like understandable. Okay. Yeah, it should be natural form. I think that's all for now. Because there was a light behind him. So this is already correctly structured, so I don't think there's anything that I should discuss anymore. And yeah, we don't have any like uncommon vocabularies. I think that's it for this part. He got up and stretched his neck out about a minute, listening. Then he says, Huda. So got up is a phrasal verb, and I think most of you know this, like meaning like got up, standing up. So that's a synonym. And stretch his neck out. Yeah, I think it's a phrase also. Yeah, I think yeah, it's a phrase. Um, so neck out about a minute. So this is an informal one. I think like most English teacher would point out that it should be, or when you type in like in Grammarly, they would always have this like, for about a minute. So yeah, but technically for writings, okay, but this is the formal English one for about a minute listening. So listening is a present participle, modifying the he right here. Then he says. So says is a present tense. Okay, so this is sort of like contradictory from what I said before. We're talking about a past event since most of them, like most of the um verb that is used in this text right here are all past tense, like went, what else? Were passing, made noise, squelched and laid still. So most of them are actually a past tense, except for the last part right there, and then he says. So says is a present tense. And when you're talking about a past tense, you should have be like you should have written as he said instead of he says. But yeah, it is contradictory actually, but since this is a part of like a fiction kind of book, like a novel, like it's actually pretty common for like storytellers to change it midway. But in like real life context, it does contradicts the whole passage. So this one is kind of dialect, I think, just to imitate what Jim said here. It's who's there, I think, or something like that. Like who's there is like a non like it's like some sort of dialect that most people develop, like probably non-native speaker develop. So I think that's all for this paragraph. Unless some of you wanted to add what have you learned, or maybe I'm just going to give you about 1 minute or 2 minutes of time in case one of you wanted to share your thoughts or comment or probably ask something about this paragraph here first before I move on to the paragraph below it. Here you can just type it in or just ask directly if you want to ask or say something like give a comment about the paragraph. Okay, so no questions, no comments. That's okay. I'm going to just summarize the. So basically, the word "we" right here, um, in case most of you I think followed the previous classes, you know that Huckleberry met up with Tom Sawyer. So basically, the "we" refers to Huck and Tom. They tiptoe through the widow's garden at night, and you can see they're carefully avoiding the trees. They clearly said this, so like bending down so the branches wouldn't scrape their head. So they're avoiding tree branches so that the tree branches wouldn't scratch their head. And as they passing the kitchen, I fell off a root. So technically, Huck trips over a root and made a noise. They crouch down and stay still. And then we have here Jim, Miss Watson's um not sure who it is again. Miss Watson, something like nigger is like so enslaved, something like probably someone in the house. I'm not really sure who is Jim, but he probably lives with Miss Watson. Is sitting in the kitchen doorway, and he's quite visible due to the light behind him, so they can see shadows. He stands up, stretches his neck, and listens carefully before calling out who's there. So who does probably who's there? I think I recall that's what I remember since I do hear that a lot in movies or something. So I think that's all for this paragraph. So in case and if you want to add something, you can just say something about this. If not, I'm just going to move on to the next paragraph here, which is the second paragraph. I need a new volunteer to read. So since I think we have a new student here, Loado, I think, do you want to volunteer reading the second paragraph here? Hello? Are you there? Do you want to read the second paragraph? I'm not sure how to read your name. Olado, I think. Yeah. Do you want to read the second paragraph? Mm. Would you like to read the second paragraph here? Okay, so that's okay if you don't want. So I guess I'm going to just choose another one. But if you want to read, then you can read also if you want to. I'm not sure. I think most of them I noticed as students. Students that attending the previous class. So Lenny, if you want to volunteer, I'm just going to give you a chance to volunteer first before I assign anyone. I think I chose most of the students here to read. Let's see. Okay, so for the second paragraph, okay, I think I'm just going to choose anyway. Okay, so here we have Aaron. So Aaron, would you like to read the second paragraph?
Okay. He listened some more. Then he come tiptoeing down and stood right between us. We could touch him nearly. Well, likely it was minutes and minutes. Then there weren't a sound, and we up there so close together. There was a place on my ankle that got too itchy, but I just scratched it, and then my hair began to itch, and next my back right between my shoulders seemed like it if I
Right.
could scratch. Well, I noticed that dim blurry time since if you are with the quality or at a funeral or trying to go to sleep when you ain't sleepy, if you are anywhere where it will do further to scratch, why you will itch over in upwards of 1,000 plays pretty soon. Jim says who is you? Where is you? Look, look, my cats. If I did hear some, well, I know what I do
Yes, I'm going to do.
going to do. It's going to sit down here and listen till I hear it again.
Okay, thank you, Aaron, for reading.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's analyze this one by one. I think most of you can already comprehend what it probably means, so that's why I'm here, just to analyze the grammar and vocabulary. Okay. So listen some more means actually in like context, right? So listen some more also means to listen a little longer, so it technically means the same. So here we have okay, so this should be a past tense here because we have the word listen here. So the word listen here will become as like, if we're in a science experiment, then this should be the control one. So we have here as past tense. Okay, so then we have here, then he come tiptoeing down and stood right between us. So we have here the word stood, which is from the word stand, basically. But here we have the word come instead. So this is actually incorrect. So the correct one should be a past tense of come, which is came. Since we're talking about past tense, like I said previously, if we have one that is not have the same tense, right here we have listen and stood, and then we have come right there. So it's not parallel to each other. We have to change that. So we change come to came. So that's why we have a parallel sentence. They're all balanced. So between us, he could touch him nearly. So I think this is in awkward phrasing. I think it's supposed to be we could have touched him nearly. Like you almost touch I think Jim. It's really correct. Other than that, it's really fine. So I think that's all. This one should be could have touched him nearly, or like we nearly touched him. Yeah, I think that's can be also. So I'm not going to highlight anything. Let's just keep this as the originality. So I'm just correcting grammars, not correcting awkward phrasing. Well, likely it was minute and minutes that there weren't a sound, and we all there so close together. So well is interjection. So for example, I say in like this kind of writing, people say alas, well, something like that. So it's interjection. Likely it was a minute or probably synonym same. So just also like trying to tell you about synonyms. It was minute and minutes. So usually people would say like time goes by from like seconds, like minutes to minutes, like hour by hour. So this actually means something that is pretty long, like emphasizing a long duration. So minutes and minutes. They have been waiting for minutes after minutes to do it. It's emphasized. And there weren't a sound. So once again, this is a dialect here. Supposed to be wasn't a sound. And we are there so close together. Okay, hold on. I think I missed a point here. And we are all there so close together. So I think this is actually a missing part right here. It's supposed to be we were all there. It doesn't have like we are close together or we were close together. But it has no doesn't like have this what do you call this thing? I suddenly forgot what okay, so if any of you remember what that word is for, like was what word something like that, please tell me. I just not forgot it, but it's supposed to have a word right here, like some sort of connecting word to it. We're all there so close together. So it doesn't have this, it makes the sentence incorrect for some reason. Okay, so before I move on to the next one, I'm going to take a drink first. So okay. So I'll be back in a minute or two. So you can continue reading or probably analyze the sentence before I continue explaining again. Okay. Sorry about that. It took longer than I expected, actually. Okay, so we're moving on. So there was a place on my ankle that got to itching, but I doesn't scratch it. And then my ear began to itch, and next my back, right between my shoulders. Okay, so since we know that this text uses a lot of informal phrases, I'm going to explain this. So got to itching means that it started itching. So I'm just going to use a bracket here, like started itching. In other words, so just like the synonym of it. So got to itching, started itching. Okay, I must put the bracket in the wrong place. I'm going to adjust this. So it will go here. But I doesn't scratch it. So I think doesn't it it not that it doesn't mean it's doesn't to does not. No. I think doesn't, since it is DAS, means that he has in like Huckleberry did not dare to scratch it. And then my ear began. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to think here. I start itching, doesn't scratch. I think it's supposed to be here, supposed to be began instead of begun. It is an incorrect use of a past participle. I think supposed to be just the second form of it. So you have begin, began, and begun. So it's supposed to be began with the past tense one, not the past participle one. Okay, I think that's for the explanation. And next, my back right between my shoulders. So, and next is informal, but in suppose like English
Yes.
formula is supposed to use them.
Yes.
Yes. Do you need anything or ask something? Okay. Okay, I think I can continue now. Where was I? Yeah, in formal English writing, you would say and then, or just and my back as well, just not indicating anything. But and it's not grammatically wrong though. It's okay. Seemed like I'd die if I couldn't scratch. So seemed like, well, you can actually say it seems as if or something like that's pretty much the same meaning. So I'd die. So you probably see I'd rather, like mm, I think all of you would probably hear this phrase often, like I rather do something than this, something. I rather yeah. It's like from something like, oh, would you rather something, I rather do this. So that's me, that's but I rather like I die here. This context is I die. So it's a conditional phrase here. Since from
Five
base
circle EMP bullet.
Yeah.
The moment he pulled the trigger, the gun body exploded on the spot.
okay. So this is actually like I think if you hear this phrase, there's kind of like a term called language feature or something, and this is one of them. Is hyperbolic. Seems I die if I couldn't search. It doesn't mean that if he doesn't scratch the part of his body that's itching, he would die. No, it's just a hyperbolic kind of way to say it that he couldn't stand the itchiness. So that's what it means, like to exaggerate. Well, I've noticed that thing plenty times since. I've noticed, which is from I have noticed, is a present perfect tense. And that thing plenty of times. So that thing, I assume it refers to the itching incident from the previous text. So plenty times should be plenty of times. And plenty times, I think you many issue this often so many times, like it's pretty often. If you're with the quality or at the funeral or trying to go to sleep when you ain't sleepy, if you're anywhere where it won't do for you to scratch, why will you will itch all over and upwards of 1,000 places? So the if you're with the quality, so quality is like referring to the upper class people, like the Borges family, or at the funeral, trying to sleep when you're sleepy. So ain't is pretty common. It's pretty commonly used for informal settings. It means aren't or are not when you aren't sleepy. So ain't or aren't sleepy, they mean the same thing. If you're anywhere, so it should be anywhere. You don't have to like pluralize anywhere to like by adding an s at the end. So you don't need to do that. You can just say anywhere where it won't scratch. So why right here? You probably noticed that it doesn't have a question mark at the end. It's just a full stop. Unlike the like who or what here is worries you. I'm not sure what you means. I think it means where or something. So who is you? Where are you? Like where are you? So where? I think that what it means. Let's see. Supposed to be without s, we can just say anywhere. So why you will ask us? So why here is actually meaning a same. Well, you will itch all over and upwards of 1,000 places. So it means the same. So it's just like a connecting word here. The why right here is not a question. So that's why it doesn't have a full stop because the author here is not asking you a question. It's just stating a fact. But using the why as conjunction, I think. No, it's actually a filler word, not a conjunction. If a conjunction, it's like connecting word, but it's not. It's just a filler word just to fill in the gaps of the sentence here. So here we have why you will itch all over and upwards of 1,000 places. So all of us, I was assuming like many places or like more than here. So this is actually a phrase, like a pretty old English phrase. It's not commonly used. And I actually did search for it beforehand since, well, I'm trying to make sure as well. So more than of 1,000 places. So that what it actually means. So this is actually just an exaggeration, like also like the hyperbolic kind of language feature here. By saying that it is many places. Pretty soon Jim says, okay, so this is more like analyzing the conversation. So pretty soon means shortly after something that's happening quite short after that. So says is a present tense, even though this passage is past tense. But once again, I said this is a common it's pretty common in storytelling or a novel like this. So it's actually a novel, so originally a storybook. When they're talking about an event, they will all use a past tense, except when a person saying something that it automatically switch to present. So like Jim says instead of Jim said. So it's pretty common, though in like formal setting, it would be grammatically wrong. So let's translate what this means. Say, who is you? Okay. So supposed to be who are you in standard grammar, not is. Unless you're talking about a person, like who is like, or you're referring to a he or she, or something context like that, or it, he, she, it. So you can say, who is she, right? Who is he? Then that would be grammatically correct. But when you're referring to you, it's supposed to be who are you, or like who are they in plural, or you. So it's supposed to use are. So it's supposed to be, but I'm not going to change this since this is we're talking about a conversation. So I'm just going to use a parenthesis here to indicate this is the correct one. Supposed to be who are you? Where is you? So this is where were you, I think. Where are you? Okay. Where are you? Okay, I just remember that I typed are, so it's supposed to be are as well, not where. Sorry about that. Where are you? Dog, my cats. I think it's just like an expression, though I'm not really sure what it means. If I didn't hear some food means some hard to pronounce, but it means something. F is if I didn't hear something. So if I didn't hear something, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down here and listen. All I hear is it again. So here we have F right here. F is supposed to be if. So for incorrect pronunciations, I'm just going to use a parenthesis without any highlighters. But if it's incorrect grammar, I'm going to use a highlight. No, I am going to do. Going to do. I mean going. So Gwen is going. Gwen to do. Going to do. Set, so set's supposed to be said. Down here and listen, I hears it again. So this is supposed to be what it means. So says, so now I'm going to read it again. So who are you? Where are you? Tell my cats if I didn't hear something. Well, I know what I think I is what is it? Here I am. So it's supposed to be am right here. Well, I know what I am going to do. I'm going to sit down here and listen until I hears it again. Okay, so I think that's all for the grammar analysis. So let's just go to the summary. But before that, any of you want to share your thoughts about the paragraph? Probably one of you want to share what have you understood from the passage? Or just add the comments or ask questions that will also be fine. Okay, so if none of you wants to share their thoughts or ask questions, I'm just going to summarize the whole passage. So he right here refers to Jim. It's a continuation from the first paragraph. So Jim listens for a while before quietly tiptoeing down, so here, and standing very close to Huck and Tom Sawyer here, Huck and Tom. Well, something minutes they weren't standing so close together, so they remained there, like standing next to each other very closely for several minutes. They remained still, but there, while they stand there right there, Huck is like struggling against the intense urge to scratch and itch. He reflects that this always seems to happen in like situations where he feels like he couldn't scratch. So that's why he said that he didn't dare to scratch, and then there was a place, and seems like I die if I go to scratch. Well, I've noticed this plenty happens like many times. So it means that he often like gets stuck in a situation where he could not scratch an itch because he actually finds it inappropriate to scratch in that kind of setting, like this setting right here. So that's why he also mentioned here. I'm not just spending time. So if you read the quality, so when you're actually with someone with like from the high classes people, or at the funeral trying to sleep when you're actually sleepy but you're still trying to sleep, or anywhere, yeah, you will actually find it inappropriate to scratch, but somehow that's itchiness is unbearable. And that's why Huck said that he often been in this situation. And then Jim says, and then this says, so yeah, Jim says right there. So I think based on Jim said that he finally sat down and he will keep listening until he hears the sound again. Don't know really sure what sound is he referring to. Is it the sound that Tom and Huck made previously about the hoot? I think that might be it though. I think that's all, unless one of you wants to add your comment about this text that we're discussing, or I guess any questions. I'm just going to give you a minute or two if you want to ask, just think about what do you want to ask, or just give a comment about this. Okay, so none of you have any questions? Okay, so since none of you have any questions, I'm just going to stop sharing. I'm also going to stop the recording first.